morning and a warm welcome to the second in the Women and Economy series, Women Economic Forum 2022. I say warm because if you're with us in Nairobi, then the morning began very chilly. So for your sake, I hope that it gets warmer. We've got thousands of people joining us online, and if you're joining us from Kenya or across the world, we say karibu sana. It is such a pleasure to have you with us. The agenda for this year is financing and market linkages for women's economic empowerment in a post-COVID environment. We have an incredible 2 days lined up for you with amazing speakers from government to entrepreneurs, private sectors, policymakers, and so much more. I am so excited, and I hope that you are as well. My name is Shiro Waweru, and I will be your host and moderator for this event. I am really looking forward to having you being part of us and joining the conversation as well. I will be sharing some of the hashtags and social media platforms that you can use to engage with us. As we are happy to hear your thoughts. Now, as we begin, I would like us to just take a moment of silence and invite God into this presence and give him thanks for this day. Heavenly Father, Yahweh Almighty, we thank you and give you praise for your faithfulness and for your goodness. As we commence this meeting, the second Women's Economic Forum, we invite you to be with us these 2 days as we deliberate on the issues of women's economic empowerment. The scriptures tell us that unless Yahweh builds a house, they labor in vain that build it. Let not our labor be in vain. Build with us. Be with us. Glorify yourself in our midst, in our discussion, and in our work. We thank you as we ask these things in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yeshua Messiah. Amen. We would also like to have the national anthem before we kick off. A moment of silence.
O God of all creation, Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
A woman is economically empowered when she has both the ability to succeed and advance economically and the power to make and act on economic decisions. They need skills, rather we need skills and resources to compete in markets, as well as fair and equal access to economic institutions. For a woman to have power and agency to benefit from economic activities, we need to have the ability to make and act on decisions and control resources and profit. Therefore, this conference and this forum for the next 2 days will be aimed at really working and really looking into the different aspects where women contribute to the economy and how to go about financing and market linkages for women's economic empowerment in a post-COVID environment. Now, you can engage with us on our social media, and I will give you the hashtags in a bit. But for now, I would like to welcome Daisy Amdani to officially the session.
Your Excellency, the Acting Canadian High Commissioner to Kenya, David Da Silva, the Country Director, CARE Kenya, Dr. Maureen Miruka, Mr. Kennedy Nyokoyo, the Director for Internal Trade for the State Department, Professor Wanjiko Kabira, the team leader of the University of Nairobi's Women's Economic Hub, the WE Hub, Susan Otieno, Executive Director, Action Aid in Kenya, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am very excited to welcome you all to this second installment of the Women's Economic Forum. We really thank Yahweh for his faithfulness in making this day a reality and to bring us here again, once again, to have this discussion. I also want to appreciate our development partners, Global Affairs Canada and the Canadian High Commission, for their immense support through the Women's Voice and Leadership Program, under which CRAWN Trust is leading the networking and alliance building pillar. The WVL program is a program that seeks to contribute to gender equality and the increased enjoyment of human rights by women and girls in Kenya through improving governance, management, programming, and sustainability of women's rights organizations, enhancing the ability to deliver quality services, and increasing the effectiveness of Kenyan women's rights platforms. This program is being delivered under the coordination of CARE Kenya, and it gives us as women's rights organizations the space to determine our key priorities according to what we see as the needs of women in Kenya, the women's rights movement in Kenya. And we saw that women's economic empowerment is a key component in harnessing women's voice in leadership, prompting us to initiate the Women and Economy series, under which the Women's Economic Forum is held. The WVL program, Kenya, is in its third year, and we have been able to do so much, from training women on networking and alliance building to advocacy training, working with young women through our intergenerational forum so as to ensure there are no gaps in our work, even with the upcoming generations. We have a live web-based directory of women's rights organizations around the country, and so far we have over 600 organizations on this database, and the second round of mapping is going on. The importance of this database is that you can search women's rights organizations based on their thematic work, regions, and the kind of the nature of the work that they do. It gives visibility to women's rights organizations who would otherwise not have the necessary visibility for their work to get done, or even to attract funding and support for the work that they do. We have citizen journalists who share the work of downstream women's rights organizations so that people can see and track the impact of the WVL program in Kenya. So do take time to visit the website on www.wvlkenya.org and see the amazing work that women and women's rights organizations are doing across the country with the support of Global Affairs Canada and the coordination of CARE Kenya. Today, it's about the Women's Economic Forum, and we are delighted that we are now in the second year. This will be an annual event, and every year we will discuss and unpack different topics central to women's economic empowerment. This year, we're looking at financing and market linkages for women's economic empowerment in a post-COVID environment. From our engagement with women around the country, this is a major concern. And in our discussions over the next 2 days, we will showcase stories of women that will inspire and give hope to many, as well as provide a platform for the sharing of market intelligence on opportunities locally, regionally, continentally, and internationally. It is our sincere hope that you will be enriched by these conversations. It is now my pleasure to welcome our esteemed chairperson, Ms. Miriam Cherogon, an agroeconomist and financial inclusion expert, to make her opening remarks. Welcome. Karibu, Miriam.
Thank you so much, Daisy and Shiro. Your Excellency, the Acting Canadian High Commission to Kenya, David De Silva, the Country Director CARE Kenya, Dr. Maureen Miruka, Kennedy Nyakoyo from the State Department, Professor Wanjiko Kabira, the team leader for the University of Nairobi Women Economic Empowerment Hub, Susan Otieno, the Executive Director for Action Aid Kenya, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to invite you to the second Women Economic Forum and Economic Series. I want to appreciate the unwavering support of Global Affairs Canada and the Women Voices and Leadership Project in Kenya, as well as Care Kenya for their steadfast support to CRAWN Trust, and specifically for actualizing the Women and Economy series that we have under the auspices of the WVL project. Thank you. This year's theme, Daisy has mentioned, is financing and market linkages for women economic empowerment. And this is very important coming from the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it has dealt a severe blow to our economy. And therefore, we felt this is an important discussion that we should have this year. We all are responsible for our contributions towards economic recovery from the pandemic. And CRAWN Trust is committed to doing its part in the economic recovery of this country and positioning women to also contribute to this recovery. Last year, we discussed about policy options, and a great deal of work has been done in making policy recommendations and organizing women and building their capacities to contribute to the discussions around women economic empowerment. We have been making concrete, actionable recommendations on budgets and policies at the national level, as well as at the county level. Our partnership with the University of Nairobi, Women Economic Hub, with Dr. Kabira, has enabled us to research, provide well-researched and factual information that we have been using for our advocacy work. Our role as CRAWN Trust is, aside from providing platforms for women, we are also providing networking and alliance building and linking women to information and opportunities. Through the National Women's Steering Committee partnerships, we have been able to disseminate a lot of information and build the capacities of women on women and economic empowerment, especially in the 8 counties of Kajiado, Nakuru, Kiambu, Kitui, Kisumu, Siaya, Nairobi, and Mombasa, as well as convening national level forums to share the findings and with duty bearers so that we can better inform government in planning and collaboration for regular consultancies at the national level as well as at the county level. Being an election year, we know that there are a lot of issues that is going to reflect on economic empowerment of women, and it is always a central issue in the campaign. Research has shown that economically empowering women is good business for good economics, and the country grapples with this question on how to address the economic challenges facing the nation. We must be steadfast. We must be fast out of the gate with recommendations and clear directions on how women can be central in the economic recovery. This is what our conversation for the next 2 days is going to be about. We are going to look at opportunities in business, trade, and entrepreneurship, locally, regionally, continentally, as well as internationally, to try and see how women can be economically empowered through these avenues. We shall not shy away from women's political empowerment. CRAWN Trust has been in the forefront in political rights and also supporting the 2/3 gender rule. We have had problems, of course, in implementing this, and we have made strides in trying to bring this to the attention of the duty bearers. This must be challenged, and we must demand the institutions tasked with this, with delivering free and fair and credible elections to take this constitutional responsibility seriously, to deliver inclusive and fair representation of women as per the thresholds stipulated by the law and the Constitution. Progress in this respect has been made, and we have contributed both to the demand and the supply side. On the demand side, we have implementation of constitutional imperatives. And on the supply side, we have provided women, and not just any woman, but women who will lead with skills and integrity and are committed to delivering better outcomes for women and citizens at large in this country. We are also cognizant of the world, that the world is changing fast and there's technological disruption. And of course, Kenya leads the continent in the technological input, but we have to also try to use this to transform opportunities for women, and especially those living in poverty and exclusion. There will be a session where this will be discussed during this 2 days event, chaired by CIO, our co-host, and we are going to explore opportunities for women and of course, women living in urban and peri-urban areas to participate in the technological and generate living wages, including informal women workers. In closing, distinguished empowerment cannot be wished away. We must focus on advocacy on the concept of gender lens investing and mainstream in the core strategy to adopt across the board and really develop products that are empowering and empowering women economically. It is this time for the financial institutions. It is time for the financial institutions that provide financial services to ask for the gender data around these investments. They must ask how women would sit on the board of companies or ventures, how women-led businesses have performed in the supply chain. This ought to be a measure of good financial investment. Then we need financial institutions to become allies of women economic empowerment and develop products that are good for women, especially for the micro, small, medium, and large businesses. It is to signal confidence in the markets and also for women economic participation. We can do this. We must do this. Our country needs us to do this, and we just really need to do it. This time, it is now. The challenge is our opportunity. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you, and I look forward to fruitful and vibrant discussions during these 2 days. Thank you very much. And now it is my singular honor and pleasure to invite CARE Kenya Country Director, Dr. Maureen Miruka, to give her opening remarks. Thank you, CARE Kenya, for being a valuable partner to CRAWN Trust and supporting us all the steps. Welcome, Dr. Miruka.
Great. Thank you so much, Miriam, for those opening remarks. It's my absolute pleasure to be here today to participate in this year's annual Women Economic Virtual Forum, together with all of you powerful allies and others working towards the women's rights agenda under the theme Financing Market Linkages for Women's Economic Empowerment in a post-COVID environment. But before I begin, allow me to acknowledge and appreciate highly the presence of His Excellency, the acting Canadian High Commissioner to Kenya, Mr. David Da Silva, the top-ranking government officials that are here, stakeholders from the private sector, and women's voices and leadership officials, partners who are here today. As CARE Kenya, we are honored to be co-hosting this event in partnership with our development partners, the Canadian government through Global Affairs Canada, the government of Kenya, CARE Canada, CRAWN Trust, who are leading this particular pillar of our work at the Women's Voice and Leadership Program, the University of Nairobi's Women's Economic Empowerment Hub, led by Dr. Wanjiru Kabira, USAID's Kenya Investment Mechanism, Action Aid International Kenya, Digital Oasis, the State Department of Trade, again represented by Mr. Kennedy Nyakuoyo, and the Association of Media Women in Kenya, and CIO Studio. Mentioning all the names because it's not possible to really do something like this as one organization. And as you know, it is core to our mandate in CARE that we recognize gender equality and economic empowerment, which are critical towards the realization of sustainable development and therefore are a major part of our strategy, even as we look ahead at 2030. I personally feel very strongly around women's economic empowerment, and I'll tell you a very short story about myself and CARE. Actually, growing up as a child, we referred to our home as CARE International because my mother, who is a retired teacher now, took in anybody from her home or anyone around that wanted to go to school and did not have the opportunity. So when somebody came home, he said, one more into CARE International. Then my mom has 5 children of us, but at any given time in our home, we were about 12 to 15 children over there going both to secondary and then to high school and later into college. And she managed to singularly put all of us through school and decent school, and we worked very hard to do that. But how did she do that as a teacher? It is because she went into farming. She did large scale, maize farming. And why was she able to succeed in doing that? One, she had the knowledge, first because she was literate in terms of going to school, but she also had the agricultural knowledge that she needed to have. She also had access to credit as a teacher. She likely took, loans to be able to plow these into the farming. She had access to extension services. Actually, I remember she was one of the contact farmers for the Kenya Agricultural Research Institute, which is CRAWN now, and had a large farm of sweet potato, which of course produced more sweet potato than we would have liked to eat as children. But that gave her access to research information that farmers need in this day and age. All the time. The third is that then she was able to produce a lot of maize and sell these. And she had a market. Of course, being a teacher, she was able to convince schools to buy, her maize. We would see, trucks come home and then go out also to the market, and she had market linkages around that worked, for her to be able to sell the maize and put all of us through school, and also buy other foods that we needed. So we had to eat oranges every day. We ate meat just like, twice a week because of the diet. So she was able, due to the purchasing power, to be able to diversify our diets and put us through school and get us clothes. Once a year, she would come to Nairobi for marking, and we would get that, occasional dress, from Dickons. It brings me then to how she was empowered economically as a woman, which is my 4th point, around the fact that she had the influence and the decision-making power over what she was able to grow or not grow, which inputs she would use, and where she would sell this at the markets, and which is what we would hope that women in their households would have. Not because they're single, as my mother was and brought us up, but because we have also taken the steps to address the gender and social norms that will ensure that we work together with men for women's empowerment, so that women can have the necessary household influence for them to be able to make economic decisions, for their households, but also to have that enabling environment where markets are responsive to the needs of women, where gender and social norms, where extension services are responsive to the needs of women, so that they can play efficiently and effectively in markets for their economic empowerment. But where we are right now is an unprecedented time with the COVID-19, which would ensure that these 5 pillars, as I would call them, that enabled my mother to be economically empowered and do what she needed to do, is very difficult right now. COVID has taken us way back into a lot of the economic and social gains that had been made on women. Actually, the rapid gender assessment conducted last year by UN Women indicated that in Kenya, 9 out of 10 women reported that their difficulties have worsened due to the pandemic. And 6 out of 10, very grim statistics, said they are unable to control their lives, and 7 out of 10 felt that the problems had piled so high that they could not overcome them. Then we also know what happened to gender-based violence and the intersection between gender-based violence and economic empowerment. And again, in this study, 1 in 5 women reported feeling unsafe in their households within the first half of 2021. We still continue to have the climate challenge, the climate change issues that we have. We also know that we have been ravaged by drought in this year. We had locust damage, that will just really work against women's productivity in the sector. Actually, someone joked that our economy has been so bad until even locusts came and took off. So I really appreciate the fact that this forum is looking at the intersection between COVID-19 and looking at what we need to do to ensure that women can regain their livelihoods despite the losses that we have made. And so we continue to emphasize women's governance, leadership, and political engagement as enshrined in our constitutions, Kenya's Vision 2030, in all of us working together, and a call to action for all of us to look holistically at what would enable us to overcome the negative impacts of COVID, to ensure that we work towards gender equality and women's empowerment. And it is in this regard that we really appreciate the partnership with all the stakeholders, including the government of Kenya, specifically the State Department of Gender, our donor, and then the Trade Department, of course, our donor partners, the Canadian government, and other collaborating partners, including the host of this convention today, CRAWN Trust. We are extremely proud of all the work that we have been able to put this through the Women's Voice and Leadership Program, and all the collaborating partners who have made this event possible. I hope that all our deliberations over the next 2 days will be fruitful, and that the successful outcomes will pave way for improved economic recovery, leadership and governance, and participation of women in the Kenyan economy. I would like to again take this opportunity to welcome and recognize our His Excellency, the acting head of mission at the Canadian High Commission, David Da Silva. David, welcome, sir. It is my pleasure to welcome you to give your remarks to this important event. Thank you. Karibu.
Hi, good morning. CRAWN Trust Chairperson, Ms. Miriam Chirogoni, CRAWN Trust Executive Director, Ms. Daisy Andani, CARE Kenya Country Director, Dr. Maureen Maruka, Credit Bank Representative, and officials from the Government of Kenya, and viewers and participants. It's really my pleasure to join this group of powerful and influential women entrepreneurs, facilitators, and enablers of women in business. Although we're not all in the same place, I can feel the energy. And I'm excited about the discussions that are going to be taking place over the next couple of days. My official title as a diplomat might be Your Excellency, but honestly, you are the ones who are truly excellent. This group is a powerful force, not only for the growth and development of Kenya, but also for your own communities and families who are the direct beneficiaries of the success of women-owned and women-led businesses. Gender equality and women's economic empowerment took a step backwards during COVID. We've already heard my friends talk about this. We know that women have suffered disproportionately from COVID. The majority of industries, such as agribusiness, hospitality, retail, and the overall informal sector, are overrepresented by women who themselves have been hardest hit by the pandemic. Moreover, in addition to all the business-related challenges that they've had to face, some of which have already been talked about, women have had to do more at home. This includes unpaid childcare and domestic work, while some women at the same time were forced to endure violence, including domestic violence, which surged during the pandemic. This conference is important because Canada believes, and Kenyans know, that women are the key to driving the recovery. Women businesses absolutely must thrive. They are the backbone of the economy, and we need to work harder to ensure that they are included and recognized as part of the broader economy. And that's why Canada is supporting organizations like CRAWN Trust and other women's rights organizations to ensure that women-led and women-owned businesses are better equipped and better informed to grow themselves. As we all know, when women thrive, societies thrive. This just makes good business sense. I love that CRAWN Chairperson Miriam urged banks to look at the data for women-led businesses. How are they faring? What are their needs? What are their success and failure rates? How can they be supported more? Because more successful women-led businesses also mean more prosperity for the financial sector too. Dr. Maureen just underlined very powerfully through a personal story how other support services need to be better geared to support women business owners. Extension services, government services, suppliers, intermediaries, and more. When they put in place the services and support that's required for women businesses do better more easily. But also, there's an election coming up. And this is an important moment for women and women businesses. We know that women are grossly underrepresented in the political system despite efforts to increase participation. And there's no better advocate for the needs of women-owned and women-led businesses than women themselves. While there are certainly allies in government and elsewhere, like myself and our friends within the government of Kenya, women leaders themselves are best placed to create, to implement, and be accountable for the policies that are required to enable women businesses to thrive. And so Kenya's, Kenya's women political candidates need support. They often have less money and weaker networks than their male counterparts. This makes it harder for them to get elected and to secure the party ticket. They suffer from violence and abuse, including and especially now in the online and digital sphere. Ms. Miriam just spoke about the link between women economic and women political empowerment. As you participate and listen to the speakers over the next couple of days, I offer or invite you to think about what you can personally do to support women political candidates, to hold them accountable once they're elected, and most importantly, how can you help to increase the power of the women's vote, which is the single largest voting bloc in the country? Imagine what the women's vote can achieve if better coordinated and better activated. In closing, as I said before, there is a powerful force at play here, not only in this conference, but also in the country as a whole. I'm excited to see what this collective and the discussions over the next 2 days will produce, especially given what members of this group have already accomplished. Congratulations and thank you to all of you, especially CRAWN Trust, CARE, and our other implementing partners for hosting this second annual event. May your discussions be thought-provoking and action-inspiring. Thank you all. Best of luck. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muruka, and Your Excellency, David De Silva, for those very kind remarks. It is now my honor to invite the government here to also give their opening remarks. I would like to invite Mr. Kennedy Nyakwoyo, Director, Internal Trade from the State Department of Trade.
Okay, good morning, everyone. As you have heard, my name is Kennedy Nyakwoyo from the State Department for Trade and Enterprise Development. I'm here representing our PS, Ambassador Johnson Weru, who will have wished to participate in this forum, but because of other commitments, he will not be able to be present. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to share with you his remarks. Dr. Maureen Miruka, the County Director, CARE International, the Canadian High Commissioner, the Chairperson, CRAWN Trust, Madam Miriam Jaragoni, other invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. At the topic of women's empowerment gained its first momentum in the mid-1970s with the adoption of the resolution number 31/136 of the United Nations Decade for Women by the United Nations in 1976. The resolution called upon governments to ensure equal and effective participation of women in the political, economic, social, and cultural life. In the year 2000, the United Nations Millennium Declaration set the basis for incorporating women's empowerment in the global development agenda. Under the Millennium Development Goal number 3, Kenya committed to promote gender equality and empower women. Even though this was a step forward, the goal and its targets were restricted to a few areas, including education, paid employment in the non-agricultural sector, and women's political representation, and it did not treat women's empowerment comprehensively. An improvement was achieved with the Sustainable Development Goal, particularly number 5, which aims at achieving gender equality and empower all women and girls, which covers a broad set of themes and women's empowerment in a comprehensive manner under the United Nations in the year 2015. In Kenya, the legal framework safeguard women's empowerment is embedded in the 2010 Constitution through several articles, which include Article 21 on implementation of rights and fundamental freedoms, Article 27 on equality and the freedom from discrimination, Article 81 on the general principles of the electoral system, and Article 100 on promotion of representation of marginalized groups. Additionally, Vision 2030, implemented through 5-year medium-term plan, that is MTPs, is one of the key policy frameworks that promote gender equality and women empowerment. Particularly MTP 3, that one which covers the year 2018 up to 2022, which is ending this year, emphasizes on the promotion of gender equality through equal access, economic opportunities, prevention and response to gender-based violence, elimination of female genital mutilation, gender mainstreaming, and the sanitary towels program. The Kenya National Trade Policy 2017 also recognizes the importance of empowering women, and it aspires to promote gender equality in trade development, develop laws, regulations, and eliminate those that hinder women's access to financial assistance, including credit capacity building, national and regional associations of women in business, and develop education programs to eliminate prejudices against women and promote gender equality. Other related policies and legislative acts include the Sexual Offences Act of 2006, prohibition of FGM Act, the year 2011, Matrimonial Property Act of 2013, Marriage Act of 2014, and the Prevention Against Domestic Violence Act of 2015. At this juncture, let me take this opportunity to declare this forum officially open. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.